Welcome to my channel.
My wife and twin brother have been having an affair for 3.5 years. Story 1-2. My wife stood in front of me and trembled for fear of revealing her betrayal. Suspicious but unsure, I asked her directly if she was cheating, and she said no. We were having a lot of trouble and were seeing a marriage counselor, and my main complaint was that she had never paired up with me as a couple. She was her thing and I was my thing. We argued over the tiniest stuff. She would pick a fight about everything. And in all that time, I told the counselor it's like breathing for her. She takes sides against me even when she knows I'm right. I'll make a schedule for the kids and she will tear it down and rebuild it largely the same, but now she can claim it's her idea and her job writing. She claimed to never take sides against me. I gave more examples of this behavior until the counselor had heard enough. A friend is an investigator with an insurance firm, and he goes about finding frauds and rooting out their dastardly plans. Makes pretty good money at it. I asked him how he would go about it. He said, don't ask yes or no questions until you get a hit on the open-ended ones. But always ask open-ended ones. Watch their behavior. Do they fidget? Watch the door. Do strange things they don't normally do in a conversation, like they are uncomfortable? And you asked a yes or no question, you let her off easy. He gave me a couple of examples. A week later I had to stay late at work and wrap up some contracts, and when I got home was treated to the usual barrage of who else was there. Who was the last one to leave before you? These were open-ended questions. No wonder I felt so naked. So I asked her where she had been. And hit her with my first question, when was the last time you were intimate with a man besides me? She stared at me. Silence. I mean, cut it with a knife. Silence. She finally said, define intimate. Interesting answer. I gave a very broad definition without naming specific forms of sexual activity. She said, does it include SXSX? I said, let me modify my original question. When was the last time you gave SXSX to a man besides me? Her face contorted, like her cranium was about to explode. After another deafening silence, I said, who are you protecting? There was a slight jolt as a reaction to the question. She stared at me some more. Is he married? She jolted again, like stepping on a tack. Obvious, but she kept control. I said, you said you would give me straightforward answers right away, no hesitation. More staring. I said, are you afraid of incriminating yourself? No response. Or are you protecting his family? She swallowed and the look on her face was like she wanted this to be over, whether the conversation or the affair, I could not tell. I said, here's what I think, you're protecting him from me. You think I'll confront him, maybe in front of his wife, and you don't want that. You're protecting him because you are more loyal to him than to me. Her eyes misted and her lips quivered, like something was trying to get out, but could not. I said, you're taking his side. Against me. She slowly shook her head and brought both jobs to her mouth. Little did I know all this was an act. My investigator friend said a guilty person accused of infidelity might react in bitterness, but not real anger. They'll fake the anger, but it will die down after the conversation. An innocent person can't fake the outrage of being falsely accused. It can last for days, and sometimes much longer. I said, last chance, tell me who it is. No response, but when you think about it, she was screaming the answer at me without saying a word. I told her I won't divorce you for cheating. But this taking sides with him against me? He must be pretty valuable for this kind of loyalty. You must love him. She exploded into a rant. I listened to every word like a clinician. She ranted on and on until she was burned out. Then I said, I need an answer to the question. You have your answer. She says. Repeat it for me, in case I missed something. More staring. I said, here's the deal, I gave you plenty of chances to come clean, and you didn't. We could never reconcile anything unless you gave up on these other men. Other men was just enough bait to get her talking, and she talked herself into a hole. She's the type of person who can't stand it when there is a narrative coming from my mouth. She always has to correct it. I inadvertently used this against her. So I said, I'm divorcing you. She jolted a lot harder this time. I said, not because you cheated, but because you took sides with him against me, and this conversation was about our marriage. I know where your true loyalties lie. 3 days later she came into the bedroom as I was leaving, spun me around, and unloaded this incredibly complex tale of how she met the guy. He was a random guy, etc. I slow clapped and told her it was a fine performance, but her chance to tell me the real truth was back when we discussed it, because she would not have had enough time to fabricate a tale. And it was a pretty elaborate tale. I took every part of it and dismantled it. She'd never seen me do that before. I had always accepted her word for things. And I'm still divorcing you. Remember, not for cheating, but for taking sides with him, and not taking my side. We're supposed to be side by side, but your loyalty and your heart belongs to another. Redditors' reactions. Redditor 1. Good for you. She never saw that coming. I hope you feel proud of yourself, because when I caught my husband in his lies, and he stepped right into my trap too, although I was devastated and heartbroken, I still felt and still feel proud that I did got the truth finally. I'm divorcing mine too. Not for the SX part, but for the disloyalty of talking to a couple of his new friends as if I was a joke and as if I was a beach and made his life heck. I was neither. Just a loyal, supportive wife of 20 years who put up with a lot of his shit. Sorry. Long reply to your story of strength and dignity. Well done. Redditor 2. This exact story was out before. I don't know if it was you or not. The counselor had asked you to ask the wife 10 questions. I might be mistaken, but I call out on the legitimacy of this post. You might have removed the first part of some answer. I might be mistaken though. Redditor 3. I continue to believe trust is the foundation of any relationship. It really makes little difference why you are divorcing this woman. But you clearly did not and do not trust her. You have no reason to trust her. She broke your trust in her, so that is really the reason to end the marriage. Redditor 4. I already knew the identity of the guy my wife was having an affair with. It had been going on for 2 years. I told her to knock it off and let's get on with our lives. We had 2 young children who needed both parents. She didn't knock it off, and after 2 more years of seeing her unemployed bum, I told her it was over and I was going to divorce her. BTW, she and the worthless lover boy never married, but I lost my kids. She traded 4 years for what could have been a lifetime of comfort. Good thinking, Tilda. Redditor 5. That last sentence is exactly the reason that you should divorce. Same thing happened to me. My ex-husband cheated instead of working on our relationship, because it made him feel better. Then when I finally confronted the other person after he betrayed me and lied to me 3 times after I asked him directly, brought someone who knew the truth, and after telling me no more contact, he communicated to the other person again. He chose the other person over me, told me how much he hated me, how he never loved me, just our lifestyle, and this other person made him feel alive. Anything like any commitment to me was gone and probably never existed. No one should keep someone like that in their life. We were together 23 years, he ran away, I granted his divorce request and we're done in 8 months. I still hate him for treating me like a Kleenex that was stuck to his foot when he left. I will probably never forgive him, and I don't really care if I ever see him again. Silliest thing is I still for a while cared about what happened to him. Habit, I suppose. You will get over it, and find that there are a lot of people that will treat you better, the way you deserve. Story 2-2. Her betrayal ended with my imprisonment. I found out in the worst way. I ended up with a ton of legal fees and I have real trust issues now, but I'll start from the beginning. This is a very sensitive subject, but I feel it's been long enough and I should share it with the Quora community. I will try to be as honest and accurate as possible. I'll warn you, this is a very long answer. I was with my girlfriend S for approximately 4 years. She had a young boy who I loved very much and I could even see a future being a parental figure to him. S lived in another city about 40 minutes from me and I would spend any time that I could with her. If I wasn't working, I was with her. S was struggling financially and I would help where I could. I was working maintenance and did mobile calls as well. We met in an unconventional way, but I still loved her with all of my being and she was a beautiful person. Inside and out. Or so I thought. She had significantly more friends than I did, and when she said she needed a co-signer for an apartment for her older sister, her son and her, I didn't hesitate to throw my name down to help them out. None of her friends wanted any part of it. I had met her friends and they seemed to do sketchy things for money, like selling drugs, working at strip clubs, falsifying documents, etc. I knew she was not doing any of those things, and I saw the potential that she had. She was going to school, had 2 jobs, was raising her son, and was working in several community groups. With all of that, she didn't get much time for herself. One summer day she told me she was going out of town for the weekend with her girlfriends. I didn't think anything of it, and I was happy for her to take some time for herself. When the day finally came, I missed her and wanted to check in, so I called her a few times, but she didn't answer my calls. I wanted to surprise her when she came back home. I decided I would clean up the house, have groceries in the fridge, and spend some time with her. I did have the keys to the apartment as I was a co-signer on the property. I went to the apartment early in the morning to get a head start on the day. I knew no one would be there and I'd have the place to myself. I put the key in the lock and proceeded to open the door. As I opened the door, the inside chain was engaged. Access denied. My heart sank as I was sure no one was there. I became worried since I didn't hear from S. I thought something must have happened, and my military training had prepared me to stay calm and think things through before acting. I acted out several scenarios in my head and planned to execute them as needed. I went down to my vehicle and grabbed a set of bolt cutters and some other tools to get the door opened. I ran back up the stairs to the apartment, and after struggling for a few minutes with the tools, I had no choice but to use the bolt cutters. The chain made a very high-pitched, distinctive ping that I will never forget. I opened the door and quickly scanned the room. I saw luggage in the hallway, all types of strange shoes by the door. The kitchen littered with beer bottles, pizza boxes, wine glasses, shot glasses, cigarette plugs, etc. There was clearly a party here, and more than a few people were having a good time. I put the bolt cutters in the closet next to the front door. I initially suspected her sister had some guests over, but when I thought more and more about S not answering my calls, it didn't make sense that she was hurt or trapped in the apartment. In retrospect, I can't believe how naive I was. My mind was racing as I went to our bedroom. I knocked softly, but there was no answer. I did hear some movement in the bedroom while I slowly pried open the door. I was not prepared for what I saw. I looked around and took a mental snapshot of the bedroom. I saw beer bottles, plates, men's shoes, jeans on the ground, and scissors on the nightstand. I walked toward the bed. It appeared empty, but upon closer inspection I saw the silhouette of a person under the sheets. The way the sheets were draped reminded me of a corpse in the morgue. The person under the sheets was not my girlfriend. It was then that I realized S was hiding in the closet with the sliding door open. I asked her what was going on. She didn't flinch. I raised my voice and spoke louder and with more conviction. She was frozen and was avoiding eye contact with me. I walked to the sheets and asked her one more time. She didn't budge. It felt like an eternity as I went to pull the sheets down. I could see the silhouette shaking and hear heavy breathing. I pulled away the sheet from his face and asked, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" He told me his name and I yelled, "What are you doing here?" He didn't reply. I asked again, "What are you doing, H?" Before I could finish my question, he wrapped his jaw around my neck and began to choke me. I started choking him back. I held his little throat in my jaw and squeezed with all my strength. I pushed his face into the bed and probably would have killed him if he didn't stand up next to me. With that gained leverage and his height, I knew I was beat. I've been in 3 fights in all of my life, and 2 of those were before the age of 12. I'm not a big guy. Needless to say, didn't have the experience or physique to kick anyone's ass. He put me in a chokehold and it was pretty much over at that point. I couldn't see and I was rapidly becoming short of breath. In my mind I was already defeated. But I knew that I loved this woman and that he must have drugged and seduced her. I also knew that I wasn't about to let some piece of shit one night stand ruin what her and I had built. She was the love of my life after all. The thought of losing her was all I needed to get out of this chokehold. I loved her and I knew that she loved me too. Our love was real. The room was dark, but I remembered what I had seen when I walked in. With my free arm I punched him in the side of the torso, trying to get to some vital organs. I knew it wouldn't do much damage, but I just needed a small distraction. With my other arm I felt around on the dresser. Beer bottles, perfume and scissors were within reach. I had to make a split-second decision. I knew a perfume blast may temporarily blind him, but I would need to aim it just right into his eyes. It was a long shot and would probably miss. The scissors would do the trick, but in my current state I would probably end up murdering the guy. I could say it was a crime of passion, but then my life as I knew it would be over. My only option was the empty beer bottle. I grasped it firmly by the neck and proceeded to strike him in the face. To my surprise, it didn't break. I struck him again. It still didn't break. WTF. Okay, I dropped that one. I thought maybe a different color bottle would be better. After a few hits his grip was loosened and I was free. I could see him slightly disoriented and he started to call out to his friends in the next room. He yelled, "Help! Help! He's trying to kill me." He grabbed my shirt and as he was about to hit me I grabbed the perfume bottle. I realized the glass was probably more fragile than the beer bottle, so I took that and smashed it right into his forehead. With the shattering glass, the liquid went into his eyes and his forehead began to bleed. I knew I had only a few moments before his friends stormed into the room. I hadn't even realized that S was trying to break up the fight. I pushed her off of me and flipped over the mattress onto both of them. I pulled the dresser to block the door as I went out into the hallway. I don't even know how I did that. It was quite heavy. 3 of his pals were waiting for me and chased me to the front door. 3v1 is a different licking game. I knew I was toast as they cornered me at the door. I needed something. Anything that I could use to protect myself. I remembered the bolt cutters. I flung open the closet and grabbed my bolt cutters that were stashed away. I swung them like a madman just inches from their faces. I yelled and chased them back into the sisters' room. They tried to come out, but I kept yelling, "Don't come out." One of them tried to come out and I got him good in the arm. I chased him back to the room and even smashed in the door like in that movie The Shining. It took all 3 of them to keep me from getting into that room. My fight wasn't with them and I didn't want to hurt anyone, but if they came after me I would not hesitate. With everyone in the rooms it was eerily quiet. I wondered what their next move would be. I heard someone say that the police were called so I should leave. I felt that my actions would get me into jail and I would rather retain control of the situation. I executed my escape plan. I left the bolt cutters in the closet and took the luggage from the hallway and emptied them all out over the balcony. I ran down the stairs and ran faster than I ever ran in my life until I reached my car. I stayed off main roads and drove home. On the way home I already was preparing to do time in prison. When I got home I went straight to bed. It was a mentally exhausting experience. I found out later that S had told the police that we had broken up 5 months ago and I didn't live there anymore. She told them I was a jealous ex who couldn't let her go. The guy was her new boyfriend and he was living there now. I ended up with several charges as a result and everyone there twisted the facts to make me look like a crazy unwelcome ex-boyfriend who broke in. The guy claimed I hit him in the head with the bolt cutters so that caused him to bleed out all over the place. It was actually the perfume bottle that broke in his head. He had to get several stitches. I got a call from the police a few hours later to turn myself in. I had been charged with the following: assault with a weapon, possession of dangerous weapons, possession of burglary tools, break and enter. I had to hire a lawyer and incur hefty legal fees. I did jail time, had daily curfews set by the police and had to do anger management as well as community service. I had to be released from the military due to the restrictions I had placed upon me. I'm not proud of my actions, but I'm glad I was able to remain calm and think in the heat of the moment. I'm the most unassuming person you will ever meet, and people who know this story are shocked that I have been through this. I was 24 at the time of these events. I haven't been able to fully trust any partner ever again. Redditors' reactions. Redditor 1, couldn't you prove with the texting that you were actually seeing each other as recently as a day ago, before that happened? If that lie came out, it would make the rest of her story less believable, right? Also being a co-signer on her lease contract? Wish you the best. Redditor 2, hi Dax, I had several things going for me that would discredit her story. I had the texts and calls, I had photos of us at a wedding just a few weeks prior, and the icing on the cake was the property being in my name. You can't really be charged with break and enter for your own home now, can you? Also, the guy had said I hit him in the head with bolt cutters. If you think about what bolt cutter can do when used as a weapon, the charges would be much more severe and the guy would be in the ICU instead of getting a few stitches to his forehead. After I turned myself in, I was released on bail a few days later. I met with a lawyer and went through all the evidence they had on me. I went through the disclosure package line by line with a fine-tooth comb. They made me seem like a monster. I was not going to do more jail time. The Canadian legal system is vastly flawed, and with delay tactics that took the better part of a year, I was getting tired and frustrated. The lawyer was lining his pockets and I was missing work just to meet in court to say my matter was not being looked at until more evidence was received. I had the smoking gun in my possession and the judge didn't care to look at it. Eventually money ran low, as did my patience. The lawyer said my best option was to plead guilty to all the charges. I would have a criminal record, but I could apply for a pardon after several years. I don't remember how it came out, but I found out there was thing called an 810-piece bond that would drop all charges as long as I stayed away from the defendant for 1 year. I had to avoid the police in any precarious situations. No weapons. No direct or indirect contact, etc. It was the longest year of my life. I was nervous about everything. I was high anxiety, but it was worth it. I am now clear of all charges and I have learned so many things about myself and life. God bless. Redditor 3, your girlfriend is not a good person. She deserved to be punished as well as what she did to you. She lied to police, which is against the laws. She would get in big trouble and will get fined. I suggest you to tell police the truth and sue her as well. Trust me, it is illegal to lie to police since they are law officers. You don't deserve that type of treatment. She is so cruel. Sorry to hear that. Redditor 4, your story is very shocking. This girl does not deserve you. I would tell you a story about a similar experience that I went through, but I rather prefer to tell you that today I am with a better person. It's been 4 years now. We just had our first son last month, and I am starting to trust her more and more. Redditor 5, shame dude, I feel for you and that's a shitty situation. But good on you and the actions you took, keeping the level head as things could have gone in a very different direction. People like that always get what's coming to them, as they say what goes around, comes around. Redditor 6, girls only night out is always a red flag. People in general cannot be trusted, and long-distance relationships like someone going off to school is usually the beginning of the end, or at least an opportunity for a little side action. It happens more often than most people know. Women are as likely to cheat as us men are, and probably more likely. Although both sexes will cheat given the chance, it is much easier for women to cheat. Men pretty much have to go looking and put a lot of effort into getting some action, while women have the opportunity presented to them on an almost daily basis. All they have to do is say yes. From my own personal life experiences, I would say that nearly all women cheat and are better at it. By that I mean they can lie better and will cover their tracks better than most men will. Thank you for watching. Comment what do you think about this situation. Don't forget to like and subscribe.